Press the bell icon on YouTube and don't miss another update.
We all saw Imran Khan holding a meeting with his top generals, air marshals, etc., his military commanders in his office in Islamabad. It must be really cold in Islamabad, indoors, because you saw him in a thick leather jacket and a red woolen muffler. Imran Khan is a stylish man. You would expect something like that from him, even in a very formal, grave setting. But you also saw him sort of moving his chair like this, rocking in his chair, sort of left to right, clockwise and anti-clockwise, which also denoted some kind of nervous energy, because he's now been given his test by fire. He hasn't been given enough time to settle down, and this often happens in Pakistan. Imran Khan now has to reflect on the situation and take some decisions. So here are a few facts that I want to list out for him from reality, confirmed history, etc., etc. So in a way, one, I declutter for you what might be going on in his mind and the choices before him and choices before Pakistan, and maybe also a little bit for him. Now, first of all, it is very normal in Pakistan for the army and the ISI and then the forces within the ISI, which are sometimes not fully in control of the army, or at least that is the pretense. We talked about Directorate S, etc. the other day. Those forces do test a newly elected leader with a crisis with India. Now, this is meant to establish many things, including and centrally the fact that when it comes to policy with India, Afghanistan, America, China, nuclear weapons, the elected Prime Minister of Pakistan doesn't control those. It is the military, the establishment, which I spell with a capital E, that is Army, Navy, Air Force, but mainly the Army, ISI, and also a certain section of Pakistani bureaucracy. They control those policies. Every Prime Minister comes with the hope that he will try and take over that policy, he or she, because remember, Benazir was also there. Nobody succeeded, but the establishment puts them to that test. I do believe, and Imran should reflect on this, that Pulwama was a way of his establishment to put him to the same test. Now, his challenge is to first of all take a call. Does he take a call for war or peace? Does he have the option to choose? Does he just rubber stamp or put his thumb mark on whatever his establishment wants him to do? Or does he come up with a mind of his own? He just won an election with an idea. Choice is his, but I am laying down the facts. Pakistan's history tells you that every Pakistani leader who engages in any major confrontation with India, either a conventional war or a sub-conventional war or a warlike situation, does not survive. What happens? He loses the war, and either after that goes into exile, loses his job, goes into exile, goes into jail, is assassinated, or unfortunately ends up suffering all three fates. Go over Pakistan's history. Ayub Khan was the first one, Field Marshal Ayub Khan no less, to launch a full-fledged war on India in 1965, when Pakistanis believe, and I don't disagree with them, was their last chance to take Kashmir militarily. Because of a combination of factors, including that India has just had a lot of instability. India had just lost a big war to the Chinese, and the Pakistanis, because of their American connection, were technologically way ahead militarily of India. But they blew that chance. I say they lost the war not because you count the number of dead or you count the number of square kilometers captured by either side, although there also Pakistan can claim no success, but the purpose for which he launched that war, which is grabbing Kashmir by force, was lost. In fact, it was lost forever. So what happened to Ayub? He lost his job. He ended up in exile. Yahya Khan was the next one, the next general to rule Pakistan, exactly ended the same way after 1971 war. Then what happens? Then Bhutto comes back. Bhutto first makes peace with India with Shimla Agreement, but then goes towards nuclearization, etc., etc., etc. Gives up the friendship of India, becomes hostile again, starts harking back to his earlier threat of thousand-year war. We'll eat grass, but we'll make the bomb. And what happens? His successor jails him and assassinates him. What happens after that? Ziaul Haq comes. There are many books written about Ziaul Haq's death, but it's widely believed that he was assassinated possibly by a fundamentalist group, maybe a Shia group, but effectively it happened because he had led this very heavily Islamized and very heavily Sunni-led campaign, jihad in Afghanistan, in cahoots with the Americans, Saudis, the Chinese, etc., etc. So he became a victim of that. And remember, that was exactly when he had launched twin operations in India using the same tactics as was used in Afghanistan, which is the tactics of 1,000 cuts. So there was one, terrorism in Punjab, which started with kind of militancy, separatism in 1981, went on 84, Operation Blue Star, went down a bit, then came back. By 1988, 89, it was again peaking. 1988, second half is when Zia got killed. And remember, he had already done his preparation for Kashmir, because soon enough after his death also, trouble started in Kashmir. It did not start suddenly. It had been in the works for some time. So once again, he took his eye off the ball in terms of his domestic politics and launched a low intensity conflict of India on India and lost his job and his life. Then comes Benazir Bhutto. Please go back to 1990. That is when there was a fair bit of tension in Kashmir, and Benazir Bhutto, feeling the pressure from her army, she was an elected prime minister, went to Muzaffarabad and made that famous or infamous speech where she invoked Islam and the daughters of the Holy Prophet, and many sort of stories from Quranic history to instigate the Kashmiri into rise in revolt. She said this very close to the border, to the line of control, and she made that famous. She spoke that famous line, Jagmohan. Remember, he was the governor of Kashmir then. Jagmohan ko to hum jag mo han kar denge. At that point, her goose was cooked, because there was no way Pakistan was going to start a war and win. There was a warlike situation. India also massed its forces on the border, and Pakistan had to agree to a de-escalation. In fact, I remember at that point, Benazir Bhutto had repeated her father's threat of a 1,000-year war, and VP Singh had said in Parliament that those who talk about a 1,000-year war, they should think whether they can last even 1,000 hours of war. And we in fact did a little war gaming to see 1,000 hours is more than about 44 days. So it's a long war. And soon after, she lost her job and went into exile. So this is a pattern. What happens after that? I will carry on. Nawaz Sharif, Kargil, he was the prime minister. He did not assert his authority. Musharraf, as army chief, took his country to war in Kargil. Pakistan lost the war. Who paid the price? The army did not pay the price. Nawaz Sharif paid the price. The army chief, in fact, then became Pakistan's dictator. And the army chief himself, because he did not keep his promise of peace with India, because after making some beginning with Vajpayee and later with Manmohan Singh, did not keep his side of the deal, he also went into exile and was arrested. So he's had two experiences. One, Benazir has been jailed, exiled, killed. Nawaz Sharif has been jailed and exiled, and he continues to be in jail. So he's been jailed more than once. Ayub and Yahya, as we said, went in exile and then oblivion. Bhutto. So this is a straight line. So many examples are a straight line. Rulers of Pakistan unless they give up their India obsession, and unless they move away, step away from the set line on India, will continue to have this problem. That is a choice that Imran Khan, I can say my friend, I've known him for a very long time, I've interviewed him, I've gone to his home. I also directly or indirectly helped him out in his famous defamation case filed by Alan Lamb and Ian Botham against him, because this was based on an interview he had given me. So we go back a long time. He's a smart man. He's not a nutcase. He has to look at his political situation and he has to see what is best for him. Revenge is a very compelling emotion. But what comes after revenge? So does he now think like any ordinary Pathan and let his tribal instincts take over? Or does he now, like some of the weaker leaders of Pakistan, fails to stand up to his establishment and say, listen, you've been doing this for a long time, this has not done my country any good, so let's make a change of script. What has India done? India has just gone and attacked something which is a terrorist, which they call a terrorist camp. We can deny it. We have a plausible deniability that nobody died. Indians are just exaggerating, and let it be. And maybe the future of Pakistan, definitely the future of democracy in Pakistan, lies not in this constant thousand-year war with India, but in changing the script, in making peace with India, finding a modus vivendi. Those things are very doable. Imran Khan is a strong leader. It's an opportunity. So, choice, either take this route, look your generals in the eye now and say, this is not about ego. This is not about Indians have done it, so we must do something, because then Indians will do something. Because there is ego on both sides and there is then a differential of ability on both sides. The time has now come to cut your losses, to stop this, open a new chapter. India is coming up for elections, there will be a new government, there will be a new energy. Or the other choice is to go the way of all his predecessors. I do not believe that that is a very inspiring record. So, Imran Khan should think from his head and once again take a brave call on what is good for his country and what is good for him.